Hello and welcome. This is your host, Alena Moore, and today we're going to be talking about regenerative agriculture. More specifically, soil erosion prevention focused practices, and the ways that this can be a politically plausible solution to managing natural resources related to soil health. Air and water quality are extremely important components of human life and well-balanced ecosystems. And what many people may not realize is the importance that agricultural practices play in this system. Soil erosion is a plausible solution to tackle politically, and despite its widespread complication, through methods such as policy initiatives, private interest involvement, insurance, lobbying, and conservation organizations, the natural resource conundrum of soil erosion can be approached, and this not only plays a huge role in ecological preservation, but also food security. So we all know that watersheds and air quality are important, but there is so much more at play here. Most of us in the Northwest are familiar with dust storms. When they hit, they turn the sky brown, and pretty soon the town looks like Mordor, and the sun is all choked out. It's awful. This is topsoil blowing off of agricultural lands, and it has happened before. In events like the Dust Bowl of the 1930s here in the U.S., a series of ecological events and then hardcore agricultural practices like tillage left massive amounts of topsoil just blowing off in the wind. In the Palouse alone, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture and U.S. Geological Service in 1998, an estimated 14 tons per acre of cultivated croplands are lost due to soil erosion from practices like tillage each year. That is like the same weight as 9 Toyota Corollas, which is crazy. So air quality is definitely a major factor in this. An extremely valuable natural resource is just blowing away, and it's concerning. In terms of water quality, the eroded topsoil that doesn't get swept up in the wind gets carried into watersheds with rainfall, which is terrible for multiple reasons. Soil may be a natural organic material, but that doesn't mean that what humans are putting on it is too. There is so many chemical inputs within the industrial agricultural process and fertilizers too. Having excess desiccants and herbicides like Roundup, for example, not just on our food, but in our water is terrible for public health. But fertilizers are also bad for coastal ecology. Soil erosion impacts coastal hypoxic zones when excess nitrogen and phosphorus from fertilizers enter watersheds and pollute the water. This stimulates eutrophic events and can not only harm the critters in those areas, but also coastal economies and fisheries quite bad. Besides this, food scarcity is also at play. The more soil that is eroded from farmlands, the less farmlands there are actually to farm on, which is a major problem. This is a matter of national security because if we can't keep up with the food production that is already occurring, what terrors will come if there's less land to grow food on and more mouths to feed? This is certainly concerning and, more importantly, preventable. Naturally, the practices that will decrease soil erosion are techniques that target soil biology and decrease damage, like reduced tillage, perennial crops, crop rotations, and cover cropping. When implementing crops like kerns of wheat, which is perennial, it's great for maintaining soil structure, and crops like millets, among others. Tillage really chews up the soil. So reducing this is also phenomenal for dramatic reductions in soil erosion. In the Palouse, for example, many farmers use integrations such as no-till as a part of their regenerative management practices. Leaving a stubble after harvest instead of going in hardcore and ripping up the living daylights out of the ground have been adopted by agricultural districts and many farmers in those, like the Spokane Conservation District. According to the Spokane Conservation District, on their no-till and direct seed programs as of 2025, leaving crop residues on soil surfaces reduces erosion caused by water and wind significantly. Depending on the amount of stubble present on the ground, erosion can be reduced up to 90% compared to an unprotected and intensely tilled field. Due to programs like these being available to farmers, it goes to show that there are initiatives to tackle this natural resource management problem. In terms of political viability, methods such as policy initiatives, private interest involvement, insurance, lobbying, and conservation organizations like the Spokane Conservation District can be incredible for managing soil erosion and its risks on a national scale. At the end of the day, This is a food and environmental security matter. Policy is extremely powerful as well when implemented at the level of Congress. However, this is also dependent on the administration in charge of the White House at the time of implementation. In instances like the Dust Bowl, policy initiatives were in fact started in the light of the disaster, like the NRCS, which is the Natural Resources Conservation Service, and that was founded in 1935. Lobbying can also be done to politically push the interests of regenerative agriculture on a large and quite coordinated scale. While not many lobbies exist for regenerative agriculture at the moment, nor the crops that support it, there is plenty of opportunity for cash commodities, such as wheat, that could be grown regeneratively to gather. In terms of plausible solutions, those that favor private interest incentivization through means of insurance companies and their tools like ESG, which is environmental social governance, can be utilized too. ESG initiatives could play a role in regenerative agricultural practices and funding them being implemented at a large scale into industries that export into other countries such as Europe, where these environmental impacts are being pushed. And that is exactly where politics can come in full circle, with private interest incentives and creating policies that move the needle. Soil erosion is an extremely important issue, one that certainly deserves attention. And despite many natural resources and their issues being difficult to approach, I believe that this is one that can be tackled with tactics like policy initiatives and private interest coordination to target agricultural practices like excessive tillage and implement in more sustainable ones. There has never been a more important time to act upon these issues, with ecological problems sprouting everywhere and food security becoming more and more tedious. Issues like this are definitely scary, but proactivity is the only way to combat dread. Soil health, at the end of the day, is delicate yet resilient, just like humanity.